Ladies and gentlemen, cats and dogs, welcome back to the Capceres channel, where we will be continuing our journey coming up with new death battle matchups for every combatant on the show. Today, we're going to be covering Season 2, so strap in, this is going to be a long one. He-Man vs. Hercules. Princes of magical kingdoms known for their unparalleled strength who become heroes. Lion-O vs. Laval. Lion princes from popular toy lines who wield magical swords and fight evil alongside other animal characters. I know Laval has Kai from Ninjago, but I do kinda like this one. Shao Kahn vs. Gargos. Big bad conquerors from fighting games. Both characters are well known to be manipulative and also capable of reviving allies from the dead to achieve their goals. Though they both have fought against warrior monks, and they have tasked their second-in-commands with preparing Earth for their inevitable arrival. It's cool. I know Gargos has Onaga, but I feel like that only exists because they kinda look similar. Also, the Drunk Giraffe likes this matchup, so I put it here. M. Bison vs. Rugal. Megalomaniacal crime bosses from fighting game franchises who served as leaders of their respective organizations in order to attempt to take over the world. Both characters are responsible for inflicting great pain and death on the heroes' loved ones, and they are also responsible for kidnapping and brainwashing one of the main characters. Ryu Hayabusa vs. Joe Musashi. Two legendary ninjas who got their start as popular arcade games in the 80s until they moved to home consoles. Both these hard-working ninja lived fairly average lives before tragedy struck and they lost important members of their clans. Soon enough, both of them were gifted incredibly powerful swords and swore revenge against the person who took their fellow clan member from them. Both ninjas prefer to utilize magic over technology and have a wide variety of power-ups to gain the upper hand. Despite being a ninja in a ninja-like area, both faced very odd enemies in their original games. It's cool, I don't really see any reason for Ryu to return, and well, I don't know jack shit about Joe, so... Strider Hiryu vs. Haomaru. Guys with swords. Look, all two of Strider's potential opponents have already been on Death Battle. What else could I use? Ivy Valentine vs. Red Sonja. Women from rich, influential families that became ruined in search of a legendary artifact. After their loved ones died in pursuit of the artifact, they carried on their mission with the help of a swordsman with a demonic hand. During their quest, they'd come to learn that their heritage was in some way tied to the artifact. Orchid vs. Jade. Female martial artists from iconic fighting games who wear green. That's the best I got. Fox McCloud vs. Buzz Lightyear. Iconic leaders of a team of government-employed space warriors who defend the galaxy from an evil megalomaniacal emperor. Both take great pride in their skill and status, and are fearless heroes who trust their teammates with their lives. Both have a laser-firing weapon of choice and numerous options for flight. It's stupid, but I love it. Bucky O'Hare vs. Duck Dodgers. Space animals who save the day. The T-800 Terminator vs. Glamrock Freddy. Advanced AI robots who protect a young boy from other robots who are evil and end up developing a close bond with the boy they're supposed to protect. RoboCop vs. Judge Dredd. Law enforcers from cyberpunk media franchises that explore the themes of law, crime, and the dangers of corporate greed. Luigi vs. Pac-Man. Do I even need to explain this one? It's Luigi vs. Pac-Man. I feel like this one is one everyone knows at this point. Tails vs. Coco Bandicoot. Young anthropomorphic animal geniuses who fight against evil industrializing scientists. Both characters were introduced in the second games of their respective franchises and often create gadgets that they use to help their allies. Charizard vs. Tiger Shark. Blue-eyed orange monsters who are iconic in their respective franchises, often being used as the poster boys for their original games. Both initially start out as cute, smaller variants of their final forms and evolve into them when they reach a certain level. Both creatures can be captured and carried around in specially designed technology, and they can also be used to fight other creatures just like them. They also have stronger black-colored forms, those being Mega Charizard X and Dark Tiger Shark. I adore this matchup. It is significantly better than Rathalos for Charizard, and Tiger Shark just looks sick as hell. I really hope this happens. Blastoise vs. Orcane. Two water-based creatures who are inspired by a real-world animal, with both being creatures who take on the role of a bodyguard. They both come from popular games where they fight other elemental animals, and they are considered really strong fighters as they keep training to improve their weaknesses. It's alright, but you could say this about Orcane and literally any other water-type Pokemon. Hell, I'm pretty sure Vaporeon would be better because they at least look similar. Venusaur vs. Camo. Reptilian plant hybrids with the ability to manipulate and weaponize plant life and solar energy. Fulgor vs. Stinger. Evil robots designed by evil corporations for the sole purpose of creating a robot army. Alright, I would be remiss if I didn't reference this at least once when I talk about Age of Extinction, so... Algorithms! Math! Why can't we make what we want to make the way we want to make it? Sector vs. Sundowner. Cyborgs with specially designed bodies that were built for combat who rank highly in an evil organization that turns people into robots against their will. Godzilla vs. Groudon. Big giant kaiju who embody an aspect of nature who have an intense rivalry with another giant kaiju and also have an evil man-made version of themselves. It's alright. Gamera vs. Kong. Giant kaiju who protect humanity from other giant kaiju, but have a particular fondness for protecting a child or children in Gamera's case. I just really want to match up for Kong, okay? Captain America vs. Kamen Rider Ichigo. Iconic heroes of their respective countries who were the results of super soldier experiments which turned them into the righteous Nazi-fighting justice seekers they are today. Tigerzord vs. Tigera. Large tiger-themed superheroes of 2 different teams of 6 and their companions they can summon, who are also capable of entering a warrior-like mode through different means. Gundam Epion vs. Armada Starscream. Tragic antagonists who can transform into a flying contraption with similar desires of both finding and questioning their identity and allegiance until they ultimately choose to be a hero and sacrifice themselves in the end. Ryu vs. Liu Kang, the main protagonists of fighting games. I really don't care about this matchup, I'm not gonna lie. I'm very glad we got Ryu vs. Jin over this. Plus, Liu Kang already has Jago, and that's a lot more fair, so yeah. Scorpion vs. Wolf. Ninja trained at a young age to become the best in their clan, but their clan were destroyed by a group of villains, and they both died and became immortal and seek vengeance for everything they loved. This was on the Tournament of Champions for a reason. It's good. Deadpool vs. Red. Red assholes. I will not elaborate any further. Deathstroke vs. Taskmaster. Ultimate assassins from DC and Marvel respectively, with a military background who use massive arsenals consisting of guns, swords, bombs, and more, as well as the uncanny ability to copy their opponent's fighting style just by looking at them. Kirby vs. Astrobot. Nintendo and Sony platforming mascots who travel to different locations and have to save adorable little characters on their adventures. Both characters have the ability to copy the abilities of others by interacting with the different objects or characters, and they both ride around on objects that is the centric aesthetic around their games. Both characters were willing to travel across various worlds to find pieces of something important to their world, and were used to help defeat the final boss of the game. They both have animal companions to help them with mobility around the world, and they are known for defeating bosses who are significantly bigger than they are. Yeah, sorry Kirby vs. Pops. This is my new most wanted matchup for Kirby now. It's such a cute matchup, I love it. Yes, most of the connections do only come from like 1 or 2 Kirby games, but consider the following. They're both so adorable! Majin Buu vs. Patrick Star. Fat, pink, gluttonous characters who are pretty strong and also ridiculously stupid. I kinda love this matchup. Ragna vs. Velvet Crow. Bitter video game protagonists who lost their younger sibling in an attack, and in that same attack lost one of their arms. They eventually got their arm replaced with a demonic power, which has the ability to absorb their enemies. Both began a crusade against their world's most respected organization, which featured their nemesis in a high-ranking position. During their travels, they would face their younger siblings in a battle multiple times, and both also obtained unique titles from their world. In the end, both managed to get their revenge and sacrifice themselves to grant the world a new chance. Soul Bad Guy vs. Gunvolt. Normal humans who were experimented on, giving them immense power. They work as freelance fighters, and they have gained the ability to turn into dragons, but choose to hold back their power so they don't. Despite their power, both characters would be separated from their families due to one or multiple reasons. Gara versus Iggy. They use sand. Toph versus Cole. Martial arts masters who utilize the power of Earth in combat. Look, I wanted to use Lucario for this, okay, but I couldn't because they already used him. Chuck Norris versus John Cena. Regular guys who ascended to godhood thanks to the power of memes. Segata Sanshiro versus Pepsi Man. Mascots for the underdog Blue Company who were designed to face off against the almighty Red Company. Guts versus Spectre Knight. Tragic characters that hate the ones that they used to work with and tried to slay them only to fail. There is a lot more than just that, but if I actually had to list all the connections, we'd be here all day, so I'm gonna just move on. Nightmare versus Orochi. Good people who became evil after being tricked by manipulative villains into interacting with dangerous objects. Iron Man versus Kamen Rider Build. Genius physicists who are some of the smartest characters in their series who use their intelligence to create a suit of armor to become a hero. Lex Luthor versus Archie Eggman. Bold scientists who fight against very powerful blue heroes who defy the laws of reality using a wide variety of suits, mechs, gadgets, and the all-powerful cosmic forces to try and get the job done. Beast versus Winston. Smart, sophisticated scientists who unleash their primal animalistic anger upon those who piss them off. Goliath versus Garnet. Team leaders from cartoons that are made of stone, lived for centuries, and use both brains and brawn. Solid Snake versus Chris Redfield. Legendary Special Forces operatives known for saving the world from doomsday weapons, who become more disillusioned with the institutions they served as both of them become corrupted. They then form their own groups to continue their work against the weapons that they have been fighting against for all their lives, but after the seemingly never-ending battle, they start to grow weary, especially after watching beloved comrades perish. Sam Fisher versus Brian Mills. Ex-CIA operatives who are notorious for their specific set of skills, who were forced to come out of retirement in order to save their daughters. Darth Vader versus Saber. The original Chosen Ones with special weapons who were often accompanied by a wise mentor who is both kind and snarky. The two were seen as saviors before their inevitable fall from grace, where they were corrupted by dark forces and turned into black-clad knights of terror. Dr. Doom versus Gilgamesh. Power-seeking rulers of a small but capable land who were absurdly overpowered. They were motivated by the loss of a loved one, and across their expansive histories, they have both served as heroes and villains at different points in time. Donkey Kong versus Rillaboom, Gorilla Drummers. Knuckles versus Terrafin. Anthropomorphic animal heroes who are known for their incredible punching abilities and the ability to dig underground. They reside on floating islands, join forces with other animal heroes, and are responsible for protecting a powerful force of energy, which they are responsible for fixing when it is broken, allowing them to travel the world to gather up the pieces to fix it. I straight up love this matchup. Not only are the connections pretty solid in my opinion, but it also just vibes super well. Infinitely better than Knuckles vs. Piccolo. Wolverine versus Bigby Wolf. Immortal lone wolf heroes who originally started out as antagonists who had done terrible things, but eventually atoned for their past becoming good guys. Both characters are members of species with superhuman abilities, with their main abilities being nigh unkillable murder machines, who can rip and tear through anyone and anything with their sharp claws. When pissed off, they unleash their feral side and become even more vicious and animalistic, allowing them to take down anyone who stands in their way. I adore this matchup. It's really good, and it allows us to see more of the Logan side of Wolverine's character as opposed to the brightly colored Saturday morning cartoon version of him that we see everywhere. And Bigby's cool too, he can turn into a big dog. Raiden versus 2B, white-haired cybernetic sword monsters. I couldn't think of anything else, I'm sorry. Hercule Satan versus Gilderoy Lockhart. Characters who become famous by taking credit for the accomplishments of others in their series. It's such a stupid matchup, but I adore it. Dan Hibiki versus Dareth. Wimpy, goofy martial artists who opened their own dojo to teach others their form of phony martial arts. Both characters would even discover a power deep inside them, but would be unable to use it properly. Yang versus Vi. Brash, hot-headed brawler characters who use gauntlets to enhance their punching power. The two are older sisters to young girls who are obsessed with weaponry and have similar abilities like being able to passively make themselves stronger, or the ability to generate defensive barrier using a form of soul magic. Both characters have female partners who just so happen to be their love interest, as well as a friend who is a rich heir to a thriving business empire. I am sorry, King. I like this more than Yang vs. Leone. Forgive me. Tifa Lockhart vs. Jude Matthias. Brown-haired, smart, and kind-hearted martial artists who have a close relationship with the blonde Ambitions main character, who wanted to achieve their own personal goals, but then discover that they have been living with false memories of their own lives. They act as the emotional backbone of their party, and even act compassionate to the antagonist of the game, who intends to suck the life force of a world at one point, until deciding to fight for what's right. I'm going to be honest, finding a good matchup for Tifa is like trying to find a needle in a haystack, so I'm so glad that ya boy Johnny Frost talked about this on Twitter once. Also, I know that he's watched at least some of my videos because he's recommended me on his channel before, so in case he's watching this one, hi! Thanks for the Tifa matchup, you made my life a hell of a lot easier. I love your content. Mega Man vs. Emerald. They are robots who can copy abilities. Astro Boy vs. Tari. Two AI protagonists who came into a world not knowing anything of their past. Originally, they were ordinary people until they met a tragic fate causing their deaths. After these incidents, their consciousness and memories were implanted and altered into an AI-like body. Their creators originally abandoned them and left them with some avaricious businessman. They were originally enslaved by said businessmen and constantly tortured and worked while held in captivity, but then they regrouped with their longtime adversaries. Green Arrow vs. Claude Von Reagan. Cocky, wisecracking archers who are known for unorthodox tactics who descend from a noble background, but would go through a form of adversity in which they realized they needed to use their intelligence and resources in order to fight to make a better place for those with little power of their own. Both would use a combination of combat prowess to fight off those who try to cause harm, and political power in order to try and make changes in society overall. In order to make their dream a reality, they would join a team of like-minded individuals, some of which with strange abilities. Hawkeye vs. Shamir Neverend. Two former vigilantes that grew into this line of work after losing their homes. After their partners presumed death, however, they found themselves working for government official establishments as soldiers. While they do work primarily for this organization, they aren't at all afraid to assist other groups for their benefit. Both are exceptionally skilled with a bow and arrow, their accuracy being above many of their peers, even without it. They can also utilize close-range weapons like swords and bow staffs when forced into close-quarters situations. They would tutor next-generation youths who take inspiration from them, developing into a mentor-student bond. Digimon vs. Bakugan, or more accurately, Wargreymon vs. Dragonoid. The Fire Dragon partners of young brown-haired male protagonists who fight against other creatures like them. Hey! Season 2 is finally done! It took me like 5 hours to write this damn script and like another 2 hours to edit it. So I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit that like button and that subscribe button. And don't forget to follow me on my socials, linked in the description below. Check out Em's video. Again, I'm just going to be promoting that video with every video I make. But anyway, with all that in mind, I'll see you later, Cap Nation. Bye!